Welcome to Chris's Storytelling Corner. This is Christopher Moldong. Today I'm going to do a movie review of Kimi No Na Wa, which translates to Your Name. I'll probably just call it Your Name moving forward. Uh, Great movie. I watched the English dub in theaters actually quite recently. Um, kind of have a feeling that it probably comes across a lot differently in Japanese. So eventually I'll watch the Japanese version, but I definitely want to give my immediate thoughts on this movie. So also be on the lookout for a manga review for Death Note volumes 10 to 12. That should finish the series. And a movie review for The Fate of the Furious. You can check out my author's website at www.chrismaldon.com. You can buy my first novel, a fantasy adventure called The Mustard Prince in the Condiment Kingdom, for $4.99. Also for $2.99, you can buy my short story collection, a collection of 10 short stories into horror, fantasy, and realistic fiction genres. Check out my Twitter page and author's Facebook page. Links to all these will be provided on the description. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and comment to this channel if you're on YouTube, or follow, share, and comment on this channel if you're listening to this on SoundCloud. If you're listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher, please rate, review, and share this channel. So the way this is going to work, first of all, major spoilers coming ahead. So if you haven't seen the movie, do not listen to this. Okay, I'm just going to say it now. There's a pretty big thing, pretty big events that happen within the movie that you don't want spoiled for you. So if you haven't seen the movie, don't listen to this because I'm going to recap um, the movie first and then give my thoughts on the movie itself, characters, the themes, and whatnot. So let's get started with Your Name. We're introduced to Mitsuha, a high school girl living in the secluded town of Otomori. With her grandmother and younger sister, she makes a Kuchi Kamizaki sake and leaves it as an offering in the family tomb on a mountainside outside the town. Mitsuha and Taki's a high school boy that lives in Tokyo, begin switching their bodies, just intermittently. Like, I guess they're like essence, soul, or whatever. Their memories of each other also kind of fade away quickly, but they begin to learn that what's going on isn't a dream and communicate by leaving notes to each other. Taki will leave notes in Mitsu's notebook, and then Mitsu will leave stuff on Taki's phone. And through that, they intervene in each other's lives. For example, Mitsu will help Taki really get a date and get to know one of his coworkers, Miki, known as Miss Okudera. And Taki helps Mitsu just become more well known and popular in school, where like people are sending confessions to her and whatnot. So one day, Taki wakes up back in his own body, and he has a very bad and unsuccessful date with Miss Okudera, and he tries to contact Mitsuo but fails. The phone, he tries to call her and whatnot, doesn't work. So he decides to visit her hometown but doesn't know its name, and his memories of it are just kind of fading. So a restaurant owner he goes to this restaurant, and the restaurant owner recognizes the town because all Taki has is a sketch that he made of uh, Itomori. And the restaurant owner tells him it was destroyed by a fragment of a comet 3 years ago. Taki then finds Mitsu's name in the records of fatalities. So Taki then goes to Mitsu's family shrine and realizes that His and Mitsu's timelines were separated by 3 years. He finds a Kuchika Mizake and drinks it, and wakes up in her body on the morning of the festival, um, where of the day where the comet is supposed to come and the meteors pretty much destroy the city. Um, with this new knowledge and being in Mitsu's body, he uses it to convince her friends to help him evacuate the village. Um, Taki then realizes that Mitsuha might actually be in his body at the shrine, and he goes back to the mountain. Mitsuha wakes up in Taki's body at the shrine, and so they're in the mountain, and they sense each other's presence on the mountain, but they're separated by time. So they realize that it's twilight, and during this time, like the magic hour happens. So they travel back to their own bodies and finally meet. Taki tells Mitsuha to convince her strange father, the mayor of Itomori, to evacuate the town, and then they return. So before they can return to their respective timelines, they try to write each other's names on their hands so they won't forget each other. But Mitsuha disappears before she can write her name on Taki's hand. So their memories start to fade. Mitsuha sees that Taki wrote "I love you" on her hand instead of his name. And then Mitsuha confronts her father and convinces him to evacuate the town. The comet pieces crashes to Earth, destroying Otomori, but its inhabitants then survive. So we jump to 5 years later. Taki's graduated from university and is searching for a job. Um, Mainly had to do with some sort of like redeveloping architecture type stuff. Um, but he's sensing that he's just missing something important the whole time. So he actually goes to a restaurant. He's in Tokyo. He goes to a restaurant and recognizes Mitsu's friends, but he can't like really pinpoint who they are. So one day, Taki and Mitsuha see each other through. They're on different trains and they parallel each other, and they kind of recognize each other, kind of don't. So they kind of search throughout all of Tokyo for one another, and then eventually meet on a staircase. They're kind of hesitant to approach each other, but then they do, and the movie ends with them asking for each other's name. So, some thoughts on your name. Let's start with Taki. Um, Taki is a funny guy when he switches bodies. He's constantly touching Mitsu's breast, and then Mitsu's little sister, always catches him or him as her doing that. Um, he's a little more in Mitsu's body. He's a little more like high strung, tougher, a lot less feminine, uh, a little more confrontational even. So, and as Taki, he's kind of something of a hopeless romantic even, makes a sketch, looks for like the love of his life, and, and just continues to search for her and is very frantic about searching for her. Uh, he's not really, he has friends that come with him. He's not too successful dating Miss Okadera. He's just not the same, because it's kind of Mitsuha who Okadera was, or that personality trait that Okadera seemed to be more attracted to. Um, so Tiger's an interesting character. He tries really hard to for this love to actually happen. Mitsuha, she's the feminine type. The daughter of the mayor, and but she's really estranged from her father, so she kind of has that going on. Um, but in school, she's besides with her friends, she's actually picked on a little bit. Just not too directly, but there are some girls in the class that do pick on her. But she's not particularly bullied per se. Uh, she's hoping to get out of her boring life in Otomori and go to Tokyo because she wants, something more, than just some little village. Um, but and she's so fascinated once she switches bodies with things in Tokyo. Uh, like I said, really feminine. She's able to sew and just kind of acts feminine. So she's definitely very somewhat different than Taki, but they still get along once they start to get to know each other. And the whole premise of them being in each other's body, it's really interesting just because of the way um, they act in a way that you'd kind of expect them to. It's just like, oh wow, I used to be a guy and I'm in a girl's body. What do breasts feel like? And Mitsa is actually a bit curious about the male penis. And one scene, she's just kind of looking down at it. So, it's kind of typical of how how you think teens would act in a situation like that. But there's always like something kind of bigger. Uh, there really is the on the surface story of what's going on, and then there's kind of like the nuance and like the bigger themes and whatnot. And when they're being in someone's body, there's a real sense of like perspective. It's like, okay, Mitsa in Tokyo in a man's body versus Taki in a smaller town and a woman's body. For one thing, you kind of realize in a sense of what they're capable of doing had they had if they had different personalities, of course, but they're capable of doing certain things, and they're kind of just capable. They're kind of aware of what others are now capable of as well. Um, so that was, pretty cool. Um, there's a lot of themes here, though. I mean, there's a theme of union. Uh, Taki had, you know, like Micho has this like hairband that Taki like ends up having. They've actually met before, and they're kind of like tied together that way. They're tied together with the sake. They're tied together with the phone. There's objects that tie people together. So there are just certain things that will bring some form of union. The comet itself brings a union. They both saw, yeah, Taki saw the comet, Mitsuha saw the comet. She died from the comet, but there's a sense of like union, the shrine, they both go to the shrine. They both go to the town, they both go to each other's towns. There's a big sense of like we're all. I mean, in a bigger sense, it's almost like we're all connected in some way, shape, or form. But these two, they're 3 years apart, and yet they manage to find ways of union. So I find that interesting. Some of the side characters are pretty cool. I like Miss Okadera. She's and one of Taki's friends, whose name I forgot, that was went on the trip with Taki to Otomori. He's pretty cool. They don't get too much play. Micho has like two friends that are like there that help them out. but like their personalities aren't that like brought out, I guess. I do like Mitsu's grandmother. You know, she seems to be wise, perceptive, um, caring. Whereas like Mitsu's father is very uncaring, not really that caring, just really a surface level type of guy. It's like, okay, I care about being mayor. I mean, there's a reason for it, but like, um, on the surface, it's just like he just kind of cares about his reputation and stuff like that, and like cares about like what's on the surface. So that's also another thing, like theme here too. It's like what's on the surface versus like the deeper layers of what's going on. That can actually be seen in the comet in itself. It's like the comet itself on the surface. It's just like this, like maybe even a once in a lifetime thing. You know, deeper layers. Like it's connecting things. It's destroying things. You know, um, it's a cause for union and separation as well. So, yeah, that's really interesting as well. Um, some of the events that happen within the story are cool. I like that they saved the people of Otomori. you know, here's the thing about Your Name that I was really afraid of actually. I watched it with a friend, and I was actually afraid that they were gonna have a pretty dark ending. I was actually, or maybe somewhere something in the middle. I'm glad they went with the happy ending, where they meet each other in the end and whatnot. But I was kind of in the back of my head. I was like, maybe she does die anyways, or something like that, or else maybe there's like the middle of the road ending where they pass by each other, they don't recognize each other, and they go on with their lives. They can have that ending too. Um, it was it's nice that like it did have a happy ending and that I think most if not all the people in Otomori managed to survive thanks to like the scheme that was concocted and actually kind of working. I would say that one of the best moments in the movie was when they saw each other during the magic hour and the reveal. Well, the big reveal that like the comet came and destroyed the town and killed everyone was a huge reveal in itself. For a love story, the concepts that were utilized within this story were very different. Um, I didn't expect the 3 year thing to happen. I expect a comet that destroyed everything. Like, there's hints at things. When you actually saw it, I was pretty wowed by it. The reveal of the "I love you" written on Mitsu's hand, that was really sweet as well. Um, by the time it ended, I remember I was talking to my friend, and he's like, "You know what this movie is?" And I gotta agree. It's kind of like, I mean, obviously they don't have the time thing as much, but they do have the separation and whatnot. The one time meeting and separation and coming back together type deal. Um, Serendipity, with Cusack and Beckinsale. It's actually, if you actually kind of think about it, there is some idea of like serendipity here. It's like, oh, we met. I have your like hairband thing, or ribbon. It's a ribbon. Or like she, or something like that. Yeah, I have your hair. He gets his ribbon. There's like this sense of like we met once, we separate, and we eventually meet again. Um, through well, through very odd happenings and just happenstance in itself, they meet again. So, um, great movie. You know, it's it's a love story. They cheat time and death. I mean, there's a big logic hole there with the whole like, oh, what about the butterfly effect of the fact that a whole town and or townspeople have survived? You know what, like, wouldn't that make some sort of butterfly effect in the world in some sense? Like, you know, um, how coincidental is it that Mitsuha ended up in Tokyo? But she always wanted to be there anyways. For example, you know, there aren't too many plot holes. That's just one I did notice. But yeah, their love surpassed time and death. Yes, both of those. 3 year span, the destruction of her, you know, village by the comet and whatnot, and Mitsu's own death gets, you know, miraculous, you know, miraculously, um, you know, subsided, I guess, um, through, in a sense, the power of love. It's kind of cliche. It's a love story. There's gonna have cliches, but overall, great movie. I really want to actually see it in Japanese with like subtitles because I think the English when I watch the English dub and it's just I think some of the delivery and whatnot kind of didn't come across that well. So that's all for today. If you like this, don't forget to subscribe, share, and comment to this channel if you're on YouTube, or follow, share, and comment on this channel if you're listening to this on SoundCloud. If you're listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher, please rate, review, and share this channel. Thank you for listening to this movie review. Be on the lookout for my manga review of Death Note Volumes 10 to 12, which will end the series, and my movie review for The Fate of the Furious, Fast and the Furious 8. Thank you, and until next time.